everybody, this is Nick from Black Geek MTDX MQ Computer Channel. I'm posting this video to both my channels, so if you happen to be watching this video on one channel and go to my other channel and find it again, well, that's why. It's the same exact thing. Shooting this video with a little bit different camera than normal. Normally I shoot my videos with my Kodak ZI-6, but today I'm using my PlayTouch. So anyways, if I look tired, it's because I am tired. For one thing, it is, close to 2 o'clock in the morning, September 23rd, 2016. I'm also tired of what's going on in Charlotte. I mean, it's got to go. So anyways, 2 days ago is when this stuff started. It started over, basically, Charlotte Metro Police went to serve a warrant, and supposedly, from what I know, from what the police have mentioned to a public statement, is basically a police officer, or an African American, approached a police officer who was also black, and had a gun in his hand. Not exactly sure if he pointed the gun at the officer or not, but the officer commanded the person to drop the weapon several times. He didn't drop the weapon, and the police officer shot the man. And the following night, later during the night of that day, protesting broke out. This happened in University City, right near UNC Charlotte. Started, I believe, on Lawyers Road, and then once it got really going, it was pretty awful. I found out about it when I was looking through Facebook, and I had seen WSOC TV Channel 9 post something about it, and I was like, this crazy. And I happened to look at it, and I'm like, are you serious? I mean, it's just like in disbelief, that all this stuff is going on right here, basically, right here at home. So it looks like another Black Lives Matter protest. I'm assuming the protest itself started out peaceful, but then it turned ugly, and it just got worse from there on out. I was pretty much in shock when the protesters moved to Interstate 85 and pretty much shut down Interstate 85. It's it's one thing when you're trying to protest and display a message, but when you start to put innocent people in harm's way, I mean, messing up people's cars, looting into trucks, taking the trucks, taking the contents out of trucks, throwing them on the interstate and setting everything on fire. I mean, seriously? That looks more like a terrorist. Looks more like an act of terrorism than as a protest. Now, of course, everybody has their own opinions, but it just seems more and more like, I'm sure, Black Lives Matter, I'm sure, part of the group has a good cause to it, but it seems like a lot of what you see, around the country, these things going on, like, let's say, for example, in Dallas, other cities, these protests breaking out, many of them turning extremely violent. This for example, 2 nights ago, when they had, these people, they just swarmed Interstate 85, shut down Interstate 85, which is a pretty, it's a major route. It's an interstate that cuts through Mecklenburg County. Again, stopping cars, robbing people in the cars, damaging the cars, carjackings, I'm sure have happened. And of course, I know I repeat myself a little bit, but breaking into trucks that are stopped in traffic, looting the contents out of the trucks, throwing all the contents onto the interstate and lighting it on fire and having a huge bonfire right in the middle of the interstate. What kind of message is that supposed to prove? I mean, it contradicts any any peaceful message that the group is trying to prove. Because I mean, there's one thing when it's a peaceful protest, but again, when you start putting other people, innocent people, in danger, that sounds more like a terrorist group to me. Just to be honest with you. And so the next day, went to work. I work at CPCC down in Charlotte, right nearby where the later events happened. It was kind of freaky. It was very freaky actually. Leaving work and seeing all these helicopters buzzing around all over the city, I knew something was going on. And so they asked us to leave work early, so we did. And later that night, look on the news, and here we see these riots breaking out in downtown Charlotte, or Uptown Charlotte. These riots breaking out, around Trade and Tryon, around Spectrum Center, which is formerly known as Time Warner Cable Arena. It's just beyond this. It's so hard to believe this would happen in Charlotte, of all places. I mean, I grew up in around the area. I was born in Charlotte, grew up around the area, and of course I went to school in Charlotte, CPCC, and I of course work there now. I spent a good bit of my time in Charlotte, and it has always seemed like a pretty peaceful city. A lot of times after work I'll go do some things, and of course some of you guys know, of course those who subscribe to Bike Geek MTX know one of my hobbies is doing elevator videos, and many of my elevator videos are done in Charlotte, near downtown. It's hard to believe that this would happen in Charlotte. It's just so hard to believe. When you look on live feeds and look on the news and seeing these protesters, or better yet, in this case, rioters, looting into stores, busting, just damaging property around the area, busting out windows, spraying Black Lives Matter on windows of stores and places like that, and of course, people who object to Black Lives Matter busting out the windows, and of course, people going into the stores and looting. This happened I know one place that definitely happened a lot at was the Hornets, the Charlotte Hornets fan gear store, at right near the arena. That was one place that got looted pretty bad. The Hyatt House Hotel got pretty tore up. Many hotels in the area had seen some damage. Many stores. It's just hard to believe the sheer amount of violence that occurred that night, which of course would be the night of the 21st. It's so hard to believe. I mean, of course, the night before, the stuff going on Interstate 85, I noticed the stuff going on 85 finally started to calm down at about 3 o'clock in the morning of the 22nd. So anyways, I mean, as I mentioned, it's so hard to believe, seeing what was going on, basically, on the day, basically on September 21st. I think, from what I remember, because I was up till like 3 o'clock watching this stuff on like live feed, just in disbelief and anger, just seeing this happen. I think it finally started to calm down at about 2:45 to 3 o'clock that morning. Turn my monitors back on. That's my source of light. It happened, that morning, and then, of course, went into work. And although it seemed a little bit different, things seemed pretty normal in downtown. But then I heard on the news about protesters starting to gather in Center City, and of course they called work off, and it was just it was scary. I don't think I've ever tried to get out of Charlotte so fast in my life. I mean, it was crazy. And of course, later that night, seeing just how bad things got, it was just unfreaking believable. Of course, I know I'm kind of repeating myself again. Just please excuse me. Of course, it is late at night. It's so unbelievable. the riots, the police, fearing for their lives, as they try to restore order in downtown. And of course, it's technically Uptown, but I call it downtown most of the time. The sheer amount of damage done to people, to innocent people's stores. I mean, what did the stores do to deserve what in the hotels? What did they deserve? Do you have their to have their windows busted out, get broke into, have their contents looted, and things like that? It's like these protesters are what many refer to as a terrorist group. They're using, basically, go back to what started it all again. Basically the African American cop shot an African American. It's like first thing first, the family swapping down. Oh, he had a book, he'd have a gun, and then of course social media believed the family more than they believed the officers, and of course in today's age, with social media, Facebook, Twitter, and all that, things just spread like wildfire. So all this information that many are finding out that was incorrect, was getting spread to everybody, and of course, it's like it's taking judgment way too freaking early, basically. These groups, these protesters, it's like they find every opportunity they can to incite violence and destruction and terrorism on people, and with hijacking people's cars, robbing people, looting trucks, looting stores, damaging property. I mean, of course, in Center City, Charlotte, on the night of the 21st, that was the worst I've ever witnessed in my life. I mean, of course, all the violence that happened, right near the arena, but also these protesters, basically walking onto I-277, which is the Beltway right around Center City, on the John Belk Freeway side, walking out onto I-277, blocking traffic, and I'm sure they were also doing the same things they were doing on I-85, the previous morning, just robbing people, carjacking, things like that, just jumping on people's cars. Innocent people were turning around and driving back the opposite direction. People going on the inner loop were stopping and turning around and traveling the wrong way on the inner loop just to get away from the mess. This is hard to think that something like that bad would happen in Charlotte. And of course, I believe, and what a lot of people have mentioned, media and the news and all that kind of stuff, was a lot of these protesters came from outside areas, probably from probably as far as several states away, coming in to do these protests, these Black Lives Matter protests. And I think all lives matter, not just black, not just blue, not just white. Regardless of color, all lives matter. And it seems like, what kind of message are you trying to show when you're inciting violence on everybody? During the worst of it, which I'm not sure. The stuff that happened on 85 was pretty bad. The first night is all this happened, but the second night, which the stuff happened downtown in Charlotte. Civilians shot another civilian. One black civilian shot another black civilian. So and you're thinking, okay, Black Lives Matter, and that's the kind of message you're trying to portray to people. This doesn't make any sense. Now, okay, let's go ahead and fast forward to last night, which will be the night of the 22nd. Of course, had to leave work early again because they didn't know what, how bad was going to happen. And of course, the night before, Governor Pat McCrory called in the National Guard, pretty much, called a state of emergency and deployed the National Guard to Charlotte to assist CMPD. They also, deployed the Highway Patrol to assist as well. And with the National Guard present, during this previous night, things were a lot more peaceful. Don't think there were really much any reports of looting or property damage. Of course, National Guard there. Bad things would have happened. National Guard would have been right on it. Now I'm for peaceful protesting. Pretty much what happened this past night. I can understand that. A peaceful protest, that's totally acceptable. But looting stores, breaking into people's cars, breaking into stores, looting stores, damaging property, killing others. I mean, that sounds more like terrorism than that does a protest to me. It honestly seems like, I'm sure some of you may have watched the movie I Am Legend. And of course during the daytime, that place was deserted, but of course Charlotte, during the daytime, of course wasn't deserted, but it was it seemed like everything was working, just going pretty well like usual. But by the time the afternoon started to run around, it was like, for those who come to Charlotte to go to work and things, it's like, okay, the sun's getting low, we better go and get out of here. And by the time the sun set, the protesters and agitators start to come out in swarms, and it's just, especially the night of the 21st, it's what it seemed like. It was like I Am Legend, sort of, in a way. Everybody trying to scramble, get out of the city before violence struck the city, basically. So anyways, I know this is kind of random. I just want to do a video of my own. And of course, for those of you I am not racist at all. I think all lives matter. Black, white, blue, you name it. So anyways, please pray for Charlotte. Thanks.